Well, pleasant good evening, sports fans, and welcome to another edition of the PR Man and the Coach talking ball on the BallFather Podcast. I'm Reggie Roberts, longtime communications executive with the National Football League, but longtime sports enthusiast, sports follower. And we're joined by our NBA analyst, the wizard, Walt Williams. What's up, Walt?
Hey, man, what's going on, Reg?
Hey, man, listen, I missed you, man. I missed you. You've been gone. You know, like I said, I told everybody you had to go down to Chicago to get Maryland in the tournament, and we did it. We got it.
Yeah, we got to take this show on the road sometimes, you know.
We knew they were getting in. We knew they were going to get in, okay? They got a tough one this week with West Virginia.
Got a tough one first round. So, that West Virginia team, they're very energetic. They grind. They're up-tempo. So, it's going to be a hard-fought battle. So, first round, you're going to get right to it.
Right to it. But, hey, it's the tournament. It's that time of the year where, the teams that are supposed to win, they don't always win. And that's why they call it March Madness.
There you go.
Look, we're cheering for you and your wizard, you and your terrapins. We hope they go get their work in. But let's get to this agenda, man. Let's get to this agenda. A little breaking news in the NBA earlier today with, everybody kind of knew it was coming because it's been talked about for the last week to 10 days with John Morant. He's now, officially suspended for conduct detrimental to the league, met with NBA Commissioner Adam Silver. Let me just start off by saying this, okay? And you and I have talked about it. We talked about it on a previous podcast. We talked about it off air. I like this kid. I like John Morant. Everybody who's been around him, I've got friends who work in the NBA who've interviewed him, say really, really nice things about him, say, he's made some mistakes, but overall, he's a really good person and a person that's hard not to like. So I'm hoping and praying that he sort of, whatever it is that's bugging him or whatever's going on, he fixes it. He finds the ointment, the balm to fix it, because the league's better. He's a talented guy. There's no question about that, and his team needs him.
Yeah, I agree. Sometimes your competitive nature can get the best of you and have you out of character, especially when you're in that high octane, in between those lines, man. It's just at the highest level. It's so hard to succeed. It's so hard to win. And when you given that much, sometimes you can get out of character. And so I just think that the biggest thing for me is it seems like he needs this time off right now to work on him a little bit, and everyone in his circle and family, they have to follow suit on what's best for Ja. Everyone has to be vested in that. He's a young man trying to navigate his way through some tough times, and it ain't all rosy just because you're making millions of dollars. You still deal with life, and he's a young man trying to figure his way out. And so he needs the most positive people around him and people that's vested in him succeeding. And it seems like he understands that he's in a crisis. He understands that. And so that's a good start to recovery, And so I've heard nothing but good things about this young man as well. And so you're just rooting for him and hoping that everything turns out for the best.
We don't need to go into what happened and all. It's been well documented. If you want to find out what's happening, go, click on ESPN.com or CBS.com, whatever you find out. But I think there's a couple of things I want to mention today from the news that came out. I thought the commissioner was very measured in his statement, said Ja's conduct was irresponsible, reckless, and potentially very dangerous. And he's right. I mean, the guy.
Absolutely.
He's right. Ja doesn't represent just himself and his club, but there's millions of kids, not only in the United States, but all over the world, since basketball is a global sport. People all over the world follow his game. They wear his 12 jersey. They represent him because they think that he's a great player. So, the fact that he's sort of, gotten away from the team and he's down, I understand he was down in Florida, meeting with some counselors, and he did that, and now he's going to sit a little bit more. The good part is there's about 5 or 6 games left when he gets back, and Memphis, to their credit, has sort of been holding the line. They lost the first 2 that he lost, but they've won the last 3, and they're kind of holding the line. So the way it's probably going to shake out they'll probably wind up having the number 2 or the number 3 seed, which will put them in good position once the playoffs start.
Yeah, absolutely, man. This team seems to be able to play well, regardless. You if you remember, even last season when Ja missed games, the team responded well. They played well during that time frame, and so you even had people with nonsense thinking that they could win a championship without Ja. That's how well they were playing. But of course, he adds to the fuel. That is a good defensive team. They have a lot of guys who can shoot the ball. And so when you can have that combination of playing a solid defense consistently, but also having guys who can shoot the ball consistently, and there's multiple guys, then you're going to give yourself a chance to win. But and then you add an explosive guy like Ja to that mix, that makes you a championship caliber team. So, that's great that he's going to have a few games to play going into the playoffs to get his rhythm back, and the team should be ready to go when it's playoff time. He's going to have some games there as well. Early on in the playoffs, they're going to be, whoever they're matched up against, they're going to be better than their team. So they're going to get out of that first series, but he's going to have some time to get his rhythm and go through a flow early on in the playoffs as well. So when it comes in time for the thick of things and getting ready for that championship run, they should be ready.
He'll be, it's interesting. 2-time All-Star, former Rookie of the Year, most improved player, one of the most ascending franchises in the NBA. The good thing is, he's done what I consider as a crisis communications expert. He's done 2 really, really good things. Number 1, he's apologized. He's apologized to his team. He's apologized to his coaches, fans, business partners, his family. He's done that, and that's hard sometimes, especially for a young man who's 23, who, they don't give you, as Walt, you played 11 seasons in the league, averaged 11.8 points. Yeah, I'm giving you all your stats. Had 8,085 points. Yeah, I know all of it. I got all of it. I mean, when a guy, you played in the league, okay? And when you play with those lights are bright, the popcorn, you can smell the popcorn, there's all sorts of distractions that come at professional athletes. And I'm not trying to excuse him. Guys were giving me grief the other day about saying, Reg, you being an apologist. I'm not being an apologist. I know this. He's 23. Were you the person? Were you the person that you are now at 23? That's what I keep asking people. Are you the person that you are now? Were you that person at 23? Of course not. So the fact that he, the problem is when he makes a mistake, it's on a global stage. Everybody gets to see it. But that doesn't mean we should throw stones at the guy and beat him up. He made a mistake. He's made a series of mistakes. He's getting some help. He's apologized. And the good part that I like about it, his coach is supporting, the fans are supporting him, Nike's standing by him, which is a huge key. If Nike's standing by you, that must mean, they understand your prioritization, which is yourself. And I applaud that.
Hey, listen, the key is always, learning along the way, along this journey, man, because, hey, I remember when I was 23 and my goodness, so I can imagine this guy's a superstar at this age. And so it's a lot more coming at him than it was at me. So I can just imagine the different obstacles or the things that you have to tackle and overcome. And so at the age of 23, just imagine. So just like you said, it's no excuse. It's about learning through when you're making mistakes, it's going to be on a global level, just like you said. But at the same time, it's still about learning from that. And when you learn from that and demonstrate that, that's going to be on a global level as well.
Well, we'll miss him. The team will miss him. He'll miss the next couple few games. He's going to be back sometime later this month. And we'll be following that, checking out. We'll just wish him the best and, wish Memphis the best as they kind of try to plow through it without him. But, I'm cheering for the young man and his family, and I'm hoping he makes it all the way back. Well, let's move on, Big Walt. Let's move on. I think one of the greatest stories of the NBA right now, currently, all season, has been the Sacramento Kings and the work that they put in. I mean, if you look at them, the Kings are on the cusp of breaking one of the most dubious and one of the most unattractive droughts in NBA, in not only in the NBA, but in sports history. they're about to make the playoffs for the first time in 16 years, which is the longest NBA drought in NBA history. Okay?
Wow.
I mean, they bought it. It used to be. And they've been through so much. There was a time there when they had Vlade Divac was there. He played. He's one of the popular players. He became the GM. He didn't quite get it. He didn't quite get it done. But now they got my man downtown Mike Brown coaching. Hard-nosed on defense. Okay, playing real hard-nosed defense. And as you mentioned, that offense has remnants of Golden State from his time with Coach Steve Kerr. Give me your thoughts on the Kings and what they got going.
But first off, the Kings, man, they got a special place in my heart. I was drafted there number 7. So Arco Arena. I used to live right off of Pocket Road down there, man, in Sac, man. So a warm feeling in my heart for the Kings, and the fan support there is off the chain, man. It is unbelievable. So I know they are loving it down there. Miss Jarrett, one of my good friends down in Sacramento, she texts me often about how well they playing. She loves her some Kevin Huerter, man. So those Terp guys, she got a special place in her heart for them Terp ballers. You know what I'm saying? That's what we breed, and nobody else. So, but yeah, you look at the Kings in the last 10 games, 8-2. They number 3 in the West, currently right behind Phoenix, but they right there nip and tuck every day, every game. They are swapping spots. 2 and 3. This team is first in scoring. They're scoring over 120 points a game. They've number 2 in field goal percentage, shooting 50%. In the league, shooting 50%. They are number 3 in assists per game, 27 assists. And you mentioned it earlier. They are moving that ball. When you watch them play, they move that ball a little bit. Just they have remnants of that Golden State offense, and then they have a guy who can take over games with Darian Fox. That guy is probably the fastest guy in the NBA. When this dude is hooping, you see him out there dribbling. He had a certain speed, and then all of a sudden, bam! He put on them jets. It seemed like you done push fast forward or something. So he's unbelievable. He's a hard guy to stop. He gets into that paint area with ease. He averages about 25, 26 points a game. Yeah, and then they have about 5, 6 guys all together averaging double figures, man. So that team is dangerous on the offensive end. I mentioned Huerter. That guy's an awesome 3-point shooter. And Mike Brown. Mike Brown is a defensive-oriented coach, right? Now you mixing what they're doing on the offensive end with that. It's unbelievable. So my Mike Brown story is when I was going through the process of getting evaluated to get drafted, the Nuggets were the 5th pick. So, I worked out for them. And Mike Brown was out there, working out, like when they was seeing how my ball handling skills would be against traps. He was one of the coaches out there trapping me and, playing one-on-one against me. And I was lighting Mike up, too.
Lighten him up, huh?
Light him up, man.
What's that? Just lighten him up.
He had a lot of hair. He had the box. He had the high top box fade there back then.
Yeah. It's so good for them because you mentioned De'Aaron Fox. Last 13 games, 10 of the last 13 games, he had 30 points. And he just had a new baby. He said it's keeping him up, but he said he's getting pretty good sleep. So that he's got that going. But let me just go over a couple of things here, okay? In the stretch close to heaven for the Sacramento and its fans, aside from the Timberwolves, no NBA franchise has lost more games than the Kings since their last playoff appearance, which is in 2006. It's a long time. In years that followed, the Kings failed to post a league average defense even once. So that's since 2006, okay? Nearly relocated to Seattle in 2013, staying only after Commissioner David Stern and 22 other owners shot down a sale that would pave the way for them to move. They hired and eventually fired Vlade Divac, the beloved former King, to run basketball operations side, despite his having extremely limited front office experience. Here's the bad part. they've hired and fired, well, 12 different coaches, including Michael Malone. 12 different coaches since 2006. They've hired 12 different coaches. And then, you know, but then here's the bad part, because this is really bad. I have to kind of share this with you. They've mangled a bunch of drafts, none worse than in 2018 when with the second pick, they took Marvin Bagley III, who'd be dealt after 3+ years as a King, instead of drafting this cat in Dallas named Luka Doncic. Okay, so, you know, we're not gonna jump on the pilot. They've had a run of bad luck. They've made some mistakes. And the fact that they're playing the way they're playing, they're 8-2 since the All-Star break. They've got the best record in the NBA since the playoff, since the All-Star break. You know, Mike Downtown Brown got them playing on defense. You know, they got that golden, you know, remnants of that Golden State offense where the guys can shoot the three. They're playing really, really well. And you know what? Hey, if they can snap the most dubious streak, not only in my mind in NBA history, but just to sort of get back to the playoffs, it'll be great for the fans, it'll be great for the organization. And you know what? Again, once the playoffs start, anything can happen, as you and I both will know. Once you get in, anything can happen.
Absolutely, man. And you hit it right on the head, man. It would be great for the fans when you're watching the playoffs and you're watching the different games. You watch how the fans are in those Sacramento Kings games, those home games. They are just off the chain, man. It was unbelievable to play in front of those fans. And even when we weren't having much success early on, I mean, the support, it was still sellout crowds, man, every game. So they are very into it. And it's a great feeling to know that those fans are seeing some success to this degree. And I wish them nothing but the best, for sure.
Absolutely. You know, we're not supposed to be picking teams, but you know what? We're cheering and we're cheering for Sacramento.
Just a little bit.
Young PR man, the coach talking ball on the BallFather Podcast, presented by Sports Getter. We're on with our Walt the Wizard Williams, former Maryland Terrapin, the Wizard, all-star, baller. One thing we need to talk a little bit about, you know, it's a little bit of a disturbing stat. It involves, you know, a team that's had a pretty great season, you know, by any stretch. One loss, you know, how they're shooting the balls. Boston Celtics, you know, they're 47-22. So by that stretch with about 10, 12 games, they've had a pretty good season, a great season. But I read something the other day that sort of stunned me a little bit. You know, they're 11-10 versus 6 other teams in the East who have winning records, including 0-7 in overtime games. But they're 3-0 against the Sixers this season. You know that's a little bit of a disturbing trend, especially this late in the season, that teams in the East who have winning records, you're 0-7 against. Especially this point of the season where it's coming, where, you know, for playoff positioning, to just sort of kind of fine tune your game and to get ready to sort of kind of go into that part of the season where you get ready for the playoffs. You need to be kind of peaking. You don't need to be descending. You need to be ascending. And I'm not sure what's going on with the Celtics. Have you studied them? Have you looked at them to see what's going on? I know Jason Tatum has been in and out of the lineup. I know Jaylen Brown has been in and out of the lineup. Is that it, or you just think maybe they're resting guys? Or what do you think it is, Big Walt?
So I think that when you have those guys in and out of the lineup, they are so key. They are so key to the Sixers' success. I don't think if you have one of them that you can consistently win. So they haven't been there together consistently, oddly enough, but they have been versus the Sixers. So
figure it out against the Sixers. They always figure it out.
Absolutely, and you know, generally both of the guys are there. Tatum and Brown have been there. So, and for the Sixers, you see Embiid and Harden figured out, but the other guys, they haven't been as consistent that's around them. So they got to figure that part out, because just Embiid and Harden, they're not going to be able to win against the Celtics. The Celtics, they can defend. So they play on both ends, especially when you get Horford there out there consistently as well. That hurts them on the defensive end. Not only him individually, but as a team. You can see that he's a leader out there. He directs guys, and so he elevates the defense for the Celtics as a whole. So I think that also when you talk about Tatum and Brown, they are the go-to guys, right? Who are quality team guys. You see how they have tweaked their games to be more conducive to a team concept, but still, they get buckets out there. So, and this team can shoot, man. And so I think that when it comes playoff time, towards the end of the season, moving into the playoff time, you see everybody's playing together. And you don't see guys in and out of the lineup. I think that's going to start to be a little bit more consistent. These are veteran guys; they've been there before, and so I think you'll see them. In a nice groove when it comes playoff time.
I agree with you. I think the Celtics have been one of those teams. They started out. They went to the finals last year, came dangerously close. Dangerously close of upsetting Golden State and winning the NBA Finals last year. Started the season out with some controversy with the coach, with that situation that we've kind of chronicled and gone over. The coach has done a nice job. Did a little bit of a rough patch, but they are without question good enough to get through the finals, go through the Sixers, who they're going to have to go through the Sixers and Milwaukee to get to the finals, and I think they can get to the finals. I think they can get to them.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that they can. I don't know if that'll be my pick. I got to see how things pan out in terms of the path to the championship. But I think when it's said and done, it probably ends up between the Celtics and the Bucks. When it's said and done.
Yeah. So just the next topic we're gonna talk about here is the Suns. The Suns. Big trade. Everybody was really excited. We did a podcast. We talked about the Suns and how excited everybody was. KD joining, an all-star cast that featured Chris Paul doing the thing. T.J. Warren playing. Devin Booker, obviously, one of the greatest shooters in the game today. DeAndre Ayton, who I love, doesn't get nearly the credit he deserves as a dominant force inside the paint. A rim protector, rim rocker, does really good work. He's got really good hands, really good feet inside the paint. And then, KD, who, 6'11", matchup disaster, kind of like what you was when you was playing. Matchup disaster, take them small guards down in the paint and post them up. I mean, they were playing well. They were 3-0, playing good, and then they're getting ready for his home debut in Phoenix, in the desert. He's out there warming up, getting ready pregame, and slips, injures his ankle. They're saying now he's going to be out 2 to 3 weeks. The Suns have struggled a little bit, but again, they're saying KD's going to be out a little bit longer, maybe a little bit north or shy of 2 weeks. But the night he was supposed to come back, Booker, the goal got to be as big as him trying to throw the ball in the open ship. Book had 44, 17 to 20, 17 to 23 from the field. Yeah, yeah. I mean, are you kidding me? 44?
On 23 shots.
23 shots. I mean, that means he missed 6 shots for crying out loud. I mean, you think about it. I mean, he's a pure scorer, and they got Chris Paul running the show. T.J. Warren, really good player. And again, I don't think anybody gives DeAndre Ayton nearly the credit that he deserves. I think they got a chance to make some noise once the playoffs start too.
So, Reg, you made some good points, man. T.J. Warren, I think, is the key that kind of gets them, over the hump a little bit until KD comes back to keep them afloat. Because that dude can score, and you playing with a point guard in CP3 who is a pass-first point guard who is trying to find guys their rhythm and get them off, and he has the ability to take over in moments when he needs to. So when you think about KD coming back, Number one, he could just fit into the system seamlessly more than any other superstar. So you think that it won't be that much for him to blend in. He's shown he can miss a multitude of time and then come right back in balling, right? And so that means that, to me, the Suns can beat you anywhere because of that 5-5, at home, away. If you want to play in Timbuktu, they can beat you there too. You know, wherever you want to play. You know, you want wherever you want to toss it up at. So I think that where the seeding is not as important with this team. I just think because of their firepower, and so to me it comes down to Monty, Coach Walt Williams, who PG County, one of PG County finest, man, around the way. So that's my guy.
You on that Maryland train tonight, boy.
Absolutely, man. We everywhere. So it's just about him learning, that rotation to where you have KD, Booker, CP3, Ayton playing majority of the minutes, right? But where guys like KD and Booker are never off the floor. One of them are on the floor at all times. Finding that rotation, finding those minutes. Also finding ways, just like you said it earlier, you got to find ways. I don't care who you got out there. You got to find ways to get Ayton the ball. That dude's a baller. He can play. He's not just out there a guy who just get putbacks. You can go to him. He got hooked. He has moves. So you got to keep him engaged out there, right? And get him to rock sometimes. And so because he can do it on both ends, you want him engaged. When big guys touch that ball, it's like kryptonite, man. All of a sudden, they start doing all types of things out there. So he's a guy that protects the paint, rebound. He just do a lot of things for them, right? So you have players who get buckets, but also that same player can play on the defensive end. You talk about CP3, he's not as good as he was when he was a young boy, but he's still decent. Booker's decent. KD's a good defensive player. Ayton. So I don't think the bench will be as important, the depth will be as important because these starters can play on both ends, and so you can mix guys in. You have enough superstar players that do it on both ends. So the bench won't be as much as a factor to me. Others will need to hit spot shots at times, in the course of the game when you don't have those four in at the same time. So they're going to have to hit spot shots when you're double teaming KD and Booker or whatever. But I think this team is going to do well. I think they're going to go far in the West because KD, when he comes back, he's just that superstar that fits right into it. He can get right to it right away like no one else. So I think they'll be all right there.
Play. Once he comes back, put him back in, take him a game to get his rhythm back. But the other part that you mentioned that I like so much, defensive, they can defend. And again, once the playoffs start, the intensity ratchets up, the game speeds up, it's a little bit more intense. And the part that I like about his game, if you're gonna come in that paint, trying to, you're gonna pay for it. Yeah. I mean, remember, hey, you're gonna have a bruise. Your back gonna hurt. I mean, it's gonna be this. Oh, we're gonna let him shoot. Ain't gonna be none of that because that's not who he is. He plays with a little bit of an, Ayton plays with a little bit of an edge. He plays with a little bit of a tough guy mentality, which I think you need in today's NBA, especially if you want to get to the finals. And he has that, and I think that's going to serve them well as they continue to go on down the road as we get to the playoffs.
Yeah.
Now, just to sort of continue with the theme tonight, Walt, with regards to teams who are playing really well, have had pretty good seasons, have had some additions via trade, but are now slumping. One of the teams is probably is going through its worst stretch of the season are the Denver Nuggets. They're number one in the West. Jokic is being mentioned for his third consecutive NBA award. He's had a really good season, but don't look now, but the Nuggets have lost 4 in a row. This is the worst stretch that they've had this season. And it was interesting. Yeah. I was looking this up today. Coach Michael Malone, the article said he's seen enough, said Denver's lost his 4th game in a row on Tuesday night, falling in Toronto 125-115, a 15-point beatdown. It's the longest losing streak for the season for the Nuggets, coming at an inopportune time with the NBA playoffs right around the corner. Here's what the coach had to say about that, Big Walt. He says, right now, we're just in chill mode, and you can't be in chill mode with 13 games left in the season, Malone said. we've got to try to find a way to get our swagger back. Maybe we gotten a little bit soft with the success, Malone said. We've been on cruise control for so long, number one in the West since like December 15th. I told our players we've gotten away from who we are. Yeah. I like that. I like that. Wake them up. Wake them up.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You look at this team, this Nugget team, right? Last 10 games, 500, playing 500 ball. And when you're talking about this, the last four-game losing streak, right? Murray, he hasn't been as consistent in this stretch. They have not been as good defensively. You think about this Nugget team, and you don't think of them as a good defensive team, but they are like a top 5 defensive team. That top 10, top 5 defensively. But you look at that stretch in these when they on that 4-game losing streak, all of these teams have shot well above 50% from the field. So, you're not going to win many games when teams are shooting 54, 55% from the field. They have not been playing the top epsilon, teams during this stretch. It's just that this is the NBA. You allowing teams to shoot that high of a percentage, it's going to be a problem. And offensively, I think that, you got Joker, you got Murray, you got Porter. Those are chill guys. That's how they're going to play. But on the defensive end, you got to be on all cylinders. You got to be in tune. You can't be chill on the defensive end. You got to be energetic. It's got to be a sense of urgency out there. And that's what you're not seeing from them during this losing stretch right now. So they got to get back to that, because you can't think that you can go into games just outscoring teams.
But I like what Coach Malone said. Okay, I like what he said. We've been number one in the West since December 15th. And that can happen. That can happen with you. I mean, I remember when in football, it's sort of the same thing. When we were in Atlanta, we got to a point there where we were like at home. We were unbelievable. The first 3 seasons under Coach Smith, 2008 through 2011, I think we lost 4 home games. I mean, right. we didn't lose much. We're gonna lock the door. We're gonna beat your brains. Beat your brains out, then we're gonna let you get on your butt, go back. That's kind of how we played. But but if you've been as good and as consistent as they've been, they've stacked up 48, 49, 50 wins, whatever it is, and sort of are in cruise control mode. I think the message that he had, probably had a little bit more fire on it to them. I think he's got to get them going. They got to get back to who they were, who they've been. Ball screens, helping the other guy, making the extra pass. They got to get back to who they've been that's allowed them to be the number one seed in the West since December 5th. They got to get back to that.
Absolutely. And you say, hey, what we talk about in the locker room, things said there, you keep it in there. But right. I thought that this was good that he said this to the media. Right. You putting them on blast right here. This is not. He's probably said that to them several times in the locker room already. And so now it's about, hey, I'm gonna put it on Front Street right now, because you guys are not getting the message right now. I'm gonna put it on Front Street, and let's see if you guys, what we putting that out there. Let's see how you guys perform now. I'm guessing that he's specifically pointing to the defensive end.
Absolutely. Big Walt, just want to talk a little bit about the Mavericks. Just a couple 3 weeks ago, I remember sitting on my couch when I saw the news that Kyrie was going to Dallas. Phone starts ringing, Twitter starts going crazy, Instagram starts going crazy. People are going nuts, okay? And leave it to my brother who lives in Seattle, who follows the NBA, he mostly follows baseball, but he really follows the NBA too. Leave it to my brother, who said something interesting. He said, watch what's going to happen. He said, one of those guys or both of those guys is going to get hurt. And he said, and there's a strong chance that they both get hurt, that Dallas might not make the playoffs. He said that like days after it happened. And you know what? They may, right now it's trending in that direction. Luka's got a thigh bruise. Walt, you played in the game. It's late in the year. That's a tough one.
That's a tough one. That thigh bruise go all the way down to your knee, go down your leg, man, get to your knee and all types of stuff, man. That's a tough one.
Yes. Ain't no amount of stem, electric stem, stretch, massage. The only thing that's gonna fix that is time.
Yep.
And you staying off. That's a tough one. And then, Kyrie's got that foot. I mean, who knows what part of the bottom of his foot is it? Plantar fasciitis. No one's really saying what it is, but he's got a foot injury that's kept him out of some games. Dallas has lost 3 straight. They're 3-7 in their last 10. They're playing San Antonio tonight. San Antonio's 18-50, but you know what? Spurs have won very quietly, won 4 of their last 7, coming off a 132-114 win over my Orlando Magic. It's tough. I mean, that's a tough situation, and for all that hoopla that everybody was talking about, it might have been for naught, because I think the Mavs might be in trouble based on who's going to be available and who's not.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no way they're going to win with Kyrie and Luka out. And even with one of them, it's going to be tough because they don't have the same depth anymore. So it's a little tougher with one of them. So you need both. And even with both of them, like I said the last time we talked about that when the trade happened, Luka has yet to prove he could play with another superstar and win. Kyrie has. And so we still haven't seen that yet. But with them both, they both out. One is in, one is out. The team hasn't gotten a rhythm. As a team, they haven't gotten a rhythm with Kyrie and Luka. And so, all of these things have to happen, especially at this high level, in order for you to have some success. As dominant as Luka is, as dominant as he is, he still has to show that part. Even if him and Kyrie are able to get healthy down the stretch and state their case for the playoffs, he still has to prove that part. Can he play with another superstar?
Well, let me ask you this: what has to happen? Let's just say that they don't make it. They come back again for the next year. Is it getting together during the offseason? Is something that they can sort of work on during the offseason, or something that can just kind of develop during training camp by you two working together and being able to figure out how to play with each other, how to complement my game, how I complement your game? How do you do that?
So in the pros, right, you don't need that off the court connection to win. You just need that connection of having a common goal of winning, right? But if you do have that off court connection, it makes it better. I think it can help you get there even quicker, or with more flaws in things. When you have the off the court connections, I think that it can cover things up. So in that off season, that's where you can develop those things, that off the court relationship. And then when you carry it out on the court, you tend to say, "Oh man, this is my guy right here. I want to see him do well." It can impact the way you play the game, and so those are the things that's important in the off season. But when training camp comes, now we getting into the thick of it. We seeing how we gel together with guys like the ball on the floor and all of those things. That's where training camp, that's where those things happen. But so I think it happens both. I think in the off season, there's a part that can happen that can help the team grow, as well as when you're on the floor in training camp.
Yeah, I think they need a little bit more time together. I mean, I think it was sort of a novel idea, bringing them together. It caused a lot of hoopla, a lot of page views, a lot of clicks on the internet, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. It was a lot of attention. But, for two guys who are as talented, but their games are a little bit opposite, they play different positions. One guy, is a point guard. One guy's is basically a power forward. It's really, really tough to sort of get them to gel and play the way the Mavericks play. But I think, spending some time together in the off season, off the court, and then maybe getting together maybe a month early, the way NBA players get ready for the season. They play at different gyms. A lot of them go to Florida. A lot of them play in California, wherever they live, wherever there's a basketball. I think a little time together on the court to sort of understand, hey, I like the ball here in this spot. Hey, I like to catch it here. Those kinds of things. I think that can help them. I think that'll go a long way towards, sort of having Kyrie understand Luka, and then having Luka understand Kyrie, so they can sort of like figure out how to play better together.
Absolutely. And also, when you have two stars that can score like that, it's important that they're on the same page with each other, that they want each other to succeed out there. Because if you guys don't have relationships and we out here hooping and we both gotta have game, in our go-to caliber game, it could be a situation out there where you're taking turns and it's not really in the best interest of the team. It's not in a team concept. So those things can occur. And so that's why I say, if the common goal of winning is not there, and you have two stars that are in their own lane, you can have problems. If you have an off the court relationship, those things don't tend to happen, so that's how you can increase the chances of these guys being even that much more successful on the court together.
Okay, we're gonna leave it right there, Wizard. Okay, we're gonna leave it right there, and we're gonna go to the altar. We're gonna go to the altar and pray for your therapist.
There you go, man.
The Bob Huggins play 130 on your people tomorrow, Wizard. Okay, we're gonna pray that don't happen. Okay.
All right, bro.
We'll get together. We'll keep following the developments within the National Basketball Association. We'll be back sometime next week to sort of chop it up, man. Have a great week.
Looking forward to it, brother.
Take care, man. All right.
All right, you too. All right.